Please welcome to the stage our moderator, Senator John McCain.
We are about to have a conversation with three really remarkable individuals who presided over the transition from government-controlled economies, government control of lives, government control of everything, to three thriving democracies. And none of these things happen by accident. They happen because of leadership.
This year we have 25 years anniversary of New Poland, of democratic Poland. Everything started 1989. And really during these 25 years we achieved a lot. We are a strong member of the European Union. We are a good member of NATO. Even during the crisis, the growth of Polish economy was quite remarkable. Poland changed very much, and I think the feeling of success, the feeling of well-done job in the last 25 years is very, very wide in my country. But frankly speaking, after 25 years, it's necessary to say that this environment of security changed very much. We are very much afraid about everything what is going in Ukraine. We are afraid about some elements of Russian politics towards Baltic states. So the situation changed very much, and I think it's necessary, and that is my message number one, to understand why it happened. And if we want to understand what is going in our region, the region of Eastern Europe, it's necessary to say that Russian politics today is different as on the beginning of this century.
President Vīķe-Freiberga, what you feel about Latvia's future, particularly with these increased tensions in the region?
Russia is a country that has not known democracy ever. Latvia did start a national awakening movement in the 19th century. It was a democratic movement before we had even a country which was declared its independence in 1918. There are traditions going back to the Reformation which give every person a sort of personal dignity that the Protestant religions recognize. The peasants were given the right to go to school so that they could read the Bible and their catechism. And we had a nation that was prepared for freedom. The sad thing is in Russia that people are actually being brainwashed into thinking that they are too weak to govern themselves, and that the world around them is hostile and hates them and attacks them because they're Russian, not because of the excesses that they committed and the aggressivities they committed and the wrongs. No, but because they're poor Russians and everybody hates them, which is absolutely not the case, because everybody in the world, we see Tchaikovsky being played on the radio in every country that plays classical music. Everybody has at least seen the movie, if not read War and Peace, and so on and so forth. So the question is not there. The question is about a political stance towards your neighbors. Unfortunately, President Putin, once he came to power, established this vertical of power, which, as he got more power, gave him more desire for it. That is a very human thing. I have seen President Putin at work on my colleagues, if you like, fellow heads of state or government in various countries, whom I would talk to before they met with President Putin and after he met with President Putin. And many of them would, frankly, we would exchange our impressions. And what I discovered is that he could play on each person's interests and weaknesses and preferences like a virtuoso on a violin. If one person had a weakness for this, he would play up to them on that. And this ability to actually manipulate, including world leaders, I find very alarming. He certainly is manipulating his population. What worries me is what President Kwaśniewski raised. To what extent the propaganda and the illogical, truly illogical arguments that are being spread about, and we don't have time now to expound them in detail, are going to be swallowed whole by Western Europe, by America, and other countries in the world. One example. We should leave President Putin and Russia take over Ukraine because, after all, it's on their doorstep and it belongs to them and it's their sphere of influence. And as far as the Baltic countries, well, it was humiliating for Russia to have them become independent again. Then we might say that you Americans should never have had any relations with Britain because you humiliated poor King George with your war of independence. And the Brits never got over it. So you see, if you start arguing that way, I'm not sure where that leads you. I think it leads you to an impasse and to a situation of danger. The world is, at the moment, in danger of destabilization, of a disrespect for international law and order. The most serious situation is, I think, in a sense, Russia, because it is a powerful country, even as, of course, we all deplore what is happening in Syria, in Iraq, and many other places of the world. China is going to become a very powerful and potentially dangerous country for the world. But at the moment, the big danger point on the globe, if you had a globe to point to, it would be the desires of the Russian Federation.
If all these countries want to be successful, they don't really have a right to do so. Because success is achieved through democracy and through free enterprise, through non-corrupt practices, free, most dangerous things for Putin. Because if there is democracy, it's a dangerous precedent for Russia. If it's a dangerous democracy, it's double dangerous precedent. If people are not corrupt, how can he bribe and play around, right? So it's not such a fertile ground.
For years, at the 4th of July parades, the little children would ask their mothers, what are those flags there? And they'd say, oh, those are the captive nations. And we kept alive the captive nations' hope for a free and democratic society, and you all have been able to achieve it. And in Georgia, we've seen dramatic improvement, but we've also seen some real difficulties arise as well. And I worry a lot about this frozen conflict, both in Ukraine and in Georgia, where acquisitions by Russia or their surrogates are frozen in place. But I also would point out that when you look back many years, all three of these countries were far, far different than they were today. So when I look and we talk understandably a great deal about the challenge of Russia and Vladimir Putin's adventures, if we were sitting here 25 years ago, I would argue that we would be more than pleased with the overall result. Could I thank Concordia, and could we again thank these three great patriots who have contributed so much to democracy in the world? Thank you.